Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Kelly, and today we are going to be reading from our books. We're going to be reading in Chapter 2. We're going to be reading Section 2.3, Migration Routes of the First Americans. Okay, that starts on Chapter 23. So if you have your textbook at home, please take it out and follow along. If you do not have your textbook, that's okay. You can follow along on the screen. Okay, so here we have a map, and this is one of the reasons why it was so important for us to start with geography. So we know, what a map looks like. We see the equator, we see the latitude and longitude coordinates. There is our compass rose, so that when we are looking at a map, we know what we're looking at. We can understand what we're looking at. And here's a map key. And the map key has, this is sort of color-coded. The white is glaciers during the last ice age, and the tan is land area during the last ice age. And there's also a red arrow, which stands for the migration routes of the first Americans. And this lighter, kind of like a tan line, is present-day land boundaries, so where that would be today. Okay, so let's start out. Section 2.3, Migration Routes of the First Americans. Today, most scientists agree that the first people in North America came from the continent of Asia at least 15,000 years ago. This migration happened during the last ice age. An ice age is a long period when much of the Earth's surface is covered with ice. The last ice age began about 30,000 years ago and ended about 10,000 years ago. During that time, Asia and North America were not separated by the Bering Sea as they are today. Instead, they were connected by a bridge of land almost 1,000 miles wide. Most scientists believe that the first migrants were people from Siberia called Siberians. The Siberians lived in northeastern Asia. They hunted big game such as mammoth, a large elephant-like animal, bison, also called buffalo, and caribou, which are also known as reindeer. Scientists believe that these large animals fed on the grassy surface of the land bridge. Over many years, they eventually wandered across it. Small groups of Siberian hunters followed the animals. In time, they moved all the way to North America. Other Siberians may have reached North America by traveling along the southern coast of the land bridge in small boats. For hundreds of years, Native Americans continued to hunt big game, following animals south into North and South America. Some groups settled in different parts of these continents. Some Native Americans kept moving until they reached the southern tip of South America. The migrants' paths to their new homes are called migration routes. So over here, let's take a look at the map first. So from what we just read, this red arrow represents the path or the route that scientists believe that the people took. Remember, they said that this was connected by land. So they walked across the land bridge and down into North America and South America. And all of those red lines represent routes that people took. And they settled in different areas. Now down here, off to the right, you will see some of the important words from this section of the chapter. Migration is a movement of people from one country or area of the world to a new home in another country or area. You may have heard the word migration before when referring to birds who migrate for the winter, right? But this is referring to people who are moving from one country or place to another. Migrants are people who move or migrate from one country or area of the world to a new home in another country or area. And big game are large animals that are hunted for their flesh, skins, and other valuable body parts. The word game is another word for hunted animals. So I'm going to show you some examples here. And here's a map that shows the migration route from Siberia during the last ice age. So this red arrow represents the routes that people may have taken, okay? The yellow is where there is land today, but the green shows us where there was land 20,000 years ago. So all this green area was once land. And through erosion and weathering, and just the ocean sort of wearing away at the earth, the area of land has become smaller, so our continents are shrinking. So this red arrow shows the routes that people might have taken to get to North America. And the way that they got here was what is known as the Bering Strait Land Bridge. This was all land at one time. Now it is not. There is water there now. And this slide shows us some big game animals. Okay, the mammoth, which is an animal that is extinct. It no longer exists. This was like a giant hairy elephant, right? And there are some people who are hunting this animal. They would use the flesh or the skin of the animal for food. They would use the fat for fuel. They would use the bones and the tusks for tools. And the skins they would use to make coverings for their tents and things, and also for clothing. So they did not waste any part of the animal. They couldn't just go to a store and buy these things. They had to make them from the animals that they hunted. This is a bison, or also known as a buffalo, and they are still in existence today. And the same as the mammoth, they would be hunted, and the people would use all of the parts of the animal. And caribou are another word for reindeer, and reindeer still exist today. And again, they would hunt the animals, and they would use every part of the animal for either food or to make clothing or shelter or tools for them to survive. Okay, so that was section 2.3. If your teacher gave you an assignment to do, you can do that now. Make sure that you read the directions in the classwork tab. There may be a page for you to complete. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.